The millionaire CEO left her, saying the baby wasn't his. 2 years later, he saw his exact copy in her arms. A gripping tale of heartbreak, karma, and second chances. A very powerful story. But before proceeding, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. I love Mr. Peter. Let's start with love. Justin Lane had built empires, conquered markets, and crushed competitors without mercy. But nothing had prepared him for the moment he saw his own green eyes staring back at him from a stranger's arms in the lobby of his own goddamn hotel. The child couldn't have been more than a toddler, small fingers wrapped around a stuffed elephant, but those eyes, that exact shade of emerald that Justin's father used to say could see through lies, they were unmistakable. The boy had Justin's strong jawline too, still soft with baby fat, but undeniably there. And when he smiled at something his mother whispered, the dimple in his left cheek appeared in the exact spot where Justin's had marked him since birth. Justin's hand tightened around the marble column he'd been passing, his knuckles going white. The lobby spun. Guests moved around him like water around a stone, their chatter fading into nothing as his entire world narrowed to the woman holding that child. Zara Beatrice. She stood at the check-in desk with her back partially to him, her natural hair swept up in a wrap that showed off the elegant line of her neck, the neck he'd kissed 1,000 times in another lifetime. She wore a deep purple dress that moved like water when she shifted the boy on her hip, and even from across the massive lobby, Justin could see she'd changed. Not just physically, though she carried herself differently now, with a confidence that seemed carved from stone rather than built from hope. Everything about her radiated success, from the leather bag over her shoulder to the way the staff responded to her presence with the kind of deference reserved for celebrities. The boy squirmed and Zara set him down, keeping his hand firmly in hers. He couldn't have been walking long, the way he moved with that toddler unsteadiness, and Justin's mind did calculations he didn't want to complete. The timeline made his chest compress until breathing became work. "Mr. Lane, are you all right?" Keiko appeared at his elbow, her tablet clutched against her chest. His assistant looked worried, probably because Justin had gone statue still in the middle of the lobby during their walk-through. "Who is that?" Justin's voice came out rough, destroyed. "The woman at the desk with the child." Keiko followed his gaze and consulted her tablet with efficient swipes. "Zara Beatrice. She's a children's book author, quite famous actually. Her last 3 books have been bestsellers. She's booked the presidential suite for 6 months. Her publicist was very specific about wanting to stay here during her national tour. 6 months. She'd be here for 6 months. Did she request this hotel specifically?" Justin heard himself ask. "Yes, sir. The publicist mentioned Miss Beatrice insisted on the Lane Grand, said it had to be this property or they'd go elsewhere." Of course she had. This wasn't coincidence. Zara Beatrice didn't do anything by accident. He'd learned that when he fell in love with her. When she painted, every brushstroke had intention. When she spoke, every word carried weight. And when she loved with her whole soul, holding nothing back, until he'd destroyed that love by walking away. The memory hit him like a physical blow. Zara, standing in her tiny apartment, hand pressed to her still flat stomach, tears streaming down her face as she told him she was pregnant. The joy that had exploded through him, immediate and fierce, because he'd been ready to build a life with her. He'd already been planning how to tell his mother, already imagining Zara in the family estate, already seeing their future with crystalline clarity. And then his mother had presented him with the DNA test results. Preliminary testing, Constance had said, from a trusted laboratory. The baby wasn't his. Zara had been with someone else. The numbers on that paper had destroyed him, each percentage point a knife to the heart. He'd spent 3 days alone, unable to eat or sleep, before he'd made the choice that haunted him every single day since. He'd walked away without explanation, without giving Zara a chance to defend herself, without asking a single question. He'd simply vanished from her life like smoke, blocking her calls, returning her letters unopened. becoming the kind of coward he'd always despised. The boy laughed at something, the sound carrying across the lobby like music, and Justin's heart cracked wider. That was his laugh, the same one Justin heard in home videos of himself as a child. Zara finished checking in and turned, hiking her bag higher on her shoulder. That's when she saw him. The transformation on her face happened in stages, like watching ice form over a lake. There was recognition, her eyes widening slightly. Then something that might have been pain, quickly buried. Finally, an expression so cold and hard that Justin felt it from across the room. Her hand tightened on the boy's, and she scooped him back into her arms with a protective fierceness that said everything about what she thought of Justin Lane. She stared at him for 3 heartbeats, her gaze boring into him with an intensity that made him want to cross the lobby and fall to his knees. Beg her to listen, beg her to explain what had happened, beg her for a chance to meet the child who was clearly, undeniably his. Instead, Zara turned her back on him deliberately, the gesture a dismissal so complete it might as well have been violence. She walked to the elevator with her head high, the boy's face tucked against her shoulder, and Justin watched his son disappear behind closing doors without ever knowing his father stood 20 feet away. "Mr. Lane," Keiko's voice pulled him back. "Should I cancel your afternoon meetings?" "What's the boy's name?" Justin asked, still staring at the elevator. Keiko scrolled through her tablet. "According to the reservation, the child's name is Prince Beatrice." Prince. She'd named him Prince. Justin remembered a conversation from before everything shattered, lying tangled in Zara's sheets as early morning light painted her skin gold. She'd been talking about the family she wanted someday, children she could raise to believe in magic and possibility. "If I have a son," she'd said, fingers tracing patterns on Justin's chest, "I'll name him Prince, because every child deserves to know their royalty in someone's eyes." He'd kissed her then, tasting the smile on her lips, never imagining she'd give birth to his son alone, raise him alone, build a whole life where Justin existed only as an absence. "Sir, your mother called earlier," Keiko continued carefully. "She wants to meet about the quarterly reports." His mother, Constance Lane, the architect of his greatest mistake. The woman who'd shown him those DNA results with such conviction, such certainty, that he'd believed her over his own heart. "Tell her I'll come by tonight," Justin said, his voice empty of everything except determination. "We need to have a conversation about truth." Keiko nodded and disappeared, leaving Justin alone in his lobby full of strangers. He pulled out his phone and scrolled back through old messages, finding the ones from Zara he'd archived but never deleted. Desperate pleas at first, begging him to call her, to let her explain, to please just talk to her. Then anger, demanding he at least have the courage to end things properly. Finally, nothing. She'd stopped reaching out, and Justin had told himself it meant she'd moved on, that he'd been right to walk away. He'd been lying to himself. He'd been a coward who chose to believe a convenient lie rather than fight for the woman he loved. Now she was here, in his hotel, with his son, and the look she'd given him made one thing absolutely clear. Zara Beatrice hadn't come here seeking reconciliation or closure. She'd come here for something far more deliberate, choosing his hotel the way a general chooses a battlefield. Justin looked up at the presidential suite's floor, imagining Zara and Prince settling into rooms he'd designed, using amenities he'd curated, existing in his space while treating him like a ghost. She wanted him to see what he'd lost. She wanted him to see his son and know he'd thrown away everything that mattered. She wanted him to suffer, and God help him. He deserved every moment of the pain she planned to inflict. Chapter 2. The Architect of Destruction. The Lane family estate sprawled across grounds that had been in the family for generations, all stone and history and weight. Justin drove through the iron gates after midnight, when the house's windows glowed like judgmental eyes. He hadn't called ahead. His mother hated surprises, which made this the perfect time to demand truth. Constance Lane sat in the library, reading by lamplight, looking like she belonged in an oil painting. Everything about his mother was calculated for maximum impact, from her pearl earrings to the way she held her brandy glass. She glanced up when Justin entered without knocking, and her expression barely flickered. "Justin, darling, you look terrible," she said, setting her book aside with careful precision. "Has something happened?" "You tell me, Mother." Justin crossed the Persian rug and stood over her chair. "When were you planning to mention that my son is staying at the Lane Grand?" Constance's face remained perfectly composed, but her fingers tightened on her glass. "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Don't!" The word came out sharp as broken glass. "Don't insult me by pretending. Zara Beatrice checked in today with a child who has my eyes, my jaw, my laugh. He's the right age. She told me she was pregnant, and you showed me DNA results saying the baby wasn't mine." "The test was conclusive, Justin. I had it run by the best laboratory in the state." "Then explain why my son looks exactly like me." Justin's voice rose, despite his attempt at control. "Explain why seeing him felt like looking in a mirror. Explain why you're not even surprised by this conversation." Constance stood, smoothing her skirt, her movements unhurried. "You're being emotional and irrational. That woman clearly had a child and is now trying to claim it's yours for financial gain. It's a common ploy with gold diggers. Zara isn't a gold digger. She's a best-selling author who's more successful now than she was when we were together. She doesn't need my money. Then why is she here?" Constance moved to the bar cart, refilling her brandy with steady hands. "Why show up at your hotel with a child if not to manipulate you?" The question hung between them, and Justin saw the trap. His mother had always been brilliant at twisting situations to her advantage, making him doubt his own perceptions. But he'd learned a few things about manipulation himself over the years, and he recognized the deflection for what it was. "You didn't answer my question about the DNA test," Justin said quietly, dangerously. "Who ran it? Give me the name of the laboratory." "I don't recall offhand. It was several years ago." "Then I'll get the information from your files. You're meticulous about records. Every transaction, every receipt, everything documented." Constance's hand paused halfway to her lips. In that hesitation, Justin saw everything he needed to see. It was fake. The realization sucked the air from his lungs. "You falsified the results. You looked me in the eyes and destroyed my life with a lie. I protected you from making the biggest mistake of your life." Constance set down her glass with a sharp click. That girl was nobody, Justin. An artist living in a shoebox apartment with paint stains on her clothes and dreams bigger than her talent. She would have dragged you down, made you soft, distracted you from building what this family needs. What you need, you mean? This was never about protecting me. This was about controlling me. I raised you to lead, to build empires, to carry the Lane name forward with strength. Instead, you were spending every night in her bed, talking about love like a fool, ready to throw away your responsibilities for some romance novel fantasy. Justin moved before he realized he was moving, closing the distance between them until he could see the absolute certainty in his mother's eyes. She believed every word. She'd destroyed 3 lives without a moment of real remorse. "Where's the real DNA test?" he asked. "Or did you never run one at all? Does it matter now?" "The result is the same. You focused on your work, built the Lane Grand into something magnificent, expanded the hotels across the region. You became the man I always knew you could be." "I became empty," Justin's voice cracked. "I spent every day wondering what could have been. I saw Zara's face in crowds. I dreamed about her, and I hated myself for being too weak to believe in her." "You were weak!" Constance's tone turned sharp. "You're still weak. That's why I had to act. You would have married her, would have let her drain your ambition and turn you into some domesticated fool playing house. Get out!" The voice came from the doorway. Camden Lane stood there, Justin's younger brother, still in his suit from whatever meeting he'd been attending. But he wasn't looking at Justin. He was staring at their mother with an expression Justin couldn't quite read. "This is my home. Camden, Constance said coolly. No, this is the family home, and I think Justin has every right to ask you to leave after what I just heard. Camden walked into the library, hands in his pockets, though I have to admit I'm not entirely surprised. You knew. Justin turned to his brother, another betrayal layering over the first. You knew what she did. Camden had the grace to look uncomfortable. I suspected. Mother was very invested in your breakup with Zara. She talked about it constantly, about how you were distracted, how the girl was inappropriate. When you suddenly ended things, it seemed convenient. Too convenient. And you said nothing. What was I supposed to say? You'd already left her. The damage was done. Bringing it up would only have hurt you more. Camden poured himself a drink, his movements carrying the studied casualness he used when lying. Besides, you threw yourself into work afterward. The hotels flourished. We all benefited. We all benefited, Justin repeated the words like a curse. My son grew up without a father. Zara struggled alone. I lost the only woman I've ever loved, but we all benefited. Don't be dramatic. Justin? Constance reclaimed her seat, regal as a queen on a throne. You'll meet someone appropriate eventually. Someone who understands our world, who can be a proper partner to a man of your stature. This Zara person was always temporary. Justin looked at his mother, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. This woman had carried him, raised him, shaped him, and he didn't recognize a single thing in her eyes that resembled love. Only ambition, only control. Only the cold calculation of someone who saw people as pieces to be moved around a board. I'm done, he said quietly. With you, with this house, with pretending we're a family when we're really just people who share a last name. You can't be serious. Constance's composure cracked. Over some girl and a child you don't even know? That child is my son. His name is Prince. And yes, I'm completely serious. You're no longer welcome at any Lane property. Your access to the family accounts is suspended. You'll receive your trust fund income and nothing more. If you contest this, I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. Constance stood, fury transforming her face. You ungrateful child. Everything I did was for you, to make you strong, to prepare you for leadership. And this is how you repay me? You didn't make me strong, Mother. You made me a coward who walked away from the woman carrying my child because I was too afraid to question you. Justin headed for the door. That ends tonight. Where are you going? Camden asked. To fix what I can, though I doubt Zara will even let me try. Justin paused in the doorway, looking back at his brother. You get to choose now, Camden. Stand with her or stand with what's right. But choose carefully because I won't give you another chance. He left the library and walked through the house he'd grown up in, seeing it clearly for the first time. The antiques and paintings and carefully curated perfection, all of it designed to impress rather than comfort. This had never been a home. It had been a museum dedicated to the Lane legacy, and he'd been raised as its next exhibit. Justin's phone buzzed as he reached his car. A text from the hotel's night manager. Miss Beatrice had requested extra security for her suite. No visitors allowed without her explicit permission. Staff were instructed to alert her immediately if Justin Lane attempted to approach her floor. He read the message twice, then drove away from the estate, understanding finally that this wasn't a battle he could win with determination or resources. Zara had built walls while he'd been building hotels, and her walls were higher than anything he'd ever constructed. She was in his hotel, close enough to touch, yet further away than she'd been during all the time they'd spent apart. And Prince, his son, the boy who had Justin's eyes and Justin's dimple and Justin's laugh, would grow up knowing his father existed, but chose to remain a stranger. Justin pulled over on a dark stretch of road and finally let himself brake. His forehead pressed against the steering wheel, sobs tearing through his chest. He'd thought the worst pain was losing Zara. He'd been wrong. The worst pain was seeing what he'd lost and knowing he'd destroyed it himself. Back at the estate, Constance poured another brandy and told herself she'd done what was necessary. Camden watched his mother drink and wondered if Justin had been right about choosing. And in the presidential suite of the Lane Grand, Zara tucked Prince into bed and sang him to sleep, her voice steady despite the tremors running through her hands. She'd seen Justin's face when he recognized his son. She'd watched him break right there in the lobby, his legendary control shattering like glass. This was what she'd come for, wasn't it? To make him see what he'd thrown away, to make him suffer even a fraction of what she'd endured. So why did revenge taste like ash in her mouth? Prince stirred in his sleep, small fingers curling around his elephant, and Zara kissed his forehead. Tomorrow the real game would begin. Tonight, she'd pretend she didn't feel Justin Lane's pain like it was her own. Chapter 3. The Book Signing War. The grand ballroom of the Lane Grand had been transformed into something magical. Hundreds of children sat cross-legged on the carpet, parents standing behind them, all eyes fixed on the woman, seated in an ornate chair at the front. Zara Beatrice read from her latest book, her voice bringing characters to life with different accents and emotions, and the room sat spellbound. Justin watched from the mezzanine above, hidden in shadows. Prince sat beside his mother on a smaller chair, occasionally whispering in her ear, making her smile between pages. That smile destroyed Justin because it was real and unguarded, the smile she used to give him before he became the villain in her story. The book was about a boy who could paint dreams into reality. Justin recognized pieces of Zara in every sentence, the way she'd always believed art could transform the world. When the reading ended, applause filled the ballroom like thunder. Children rushed forward with books to sign, and Zara handled each one with genuine warmth. Prince helped by handing her markers and stacking signed books. Justin descended the stairs carefully, planning to wait until the crowd thinned. But a woman built like a fortress stepped into his path. "Mr. Lane." She didn't make it sound like a greeting. "I'm Nadia, Ms. Beatrice's security. She's asked me to inform you that she's not available for conversation." "I just want to meet my son." "Your son is busy helping his mother. Perhaps you should have thought about meeting him before now." The words hit like fists. "Please just tell Zara I'd like to talk. 5 minutes." Ms. Beatrice was very clear. "No contact. If you approach her or Prince without permission, we'll relocate to another hotel and ensure every media outlet knows why." Justin recognized a threat when he heard one. Zara held all the power here. He watched the rest of the signing from the mezzanine, memorizing the way Prince moved and laughed and existed in the world Justin had no part in creating. When the event ended, a woman in an expensive suit approached Zara with the confidence of someone important. Later, Justin learned the woman was Leona Fairchild, Zara's publisher. His front desk manager nervously informed him that Ms. Fairchild had delivered a formal message. Any attempt by Justin Lane to contact Zara Beatrice or her son would result in immediate departure and potential legal action. That night, Justin searched for everything about Zara's life after he'd left. The internet painted a story that broke him piece by piece. Articles about an emerging author who'd written her first book on napkins and paper bags while working multiple jobs. Interviews where Zara talked about single motherhood with grace that made hardship sound like a choice. Photos of her at book events, always with Prince, always smiling, always projecting strength that must have cost her everything. One article mentioned she'd lived in her car for months while pregnant. Another detailed how she'd given birth in a county hospital with only nurses for company. A video showed her describing how she'd write stories for Prince while he slept, creating worlds where little boys always had fathers who loved them. Justin closed his laptop, but the damage was done. Zara hadn't just survived his abandonment. She'd built an empire from the ruins, transformed her pain into stories that touched millions. His younger sister Daphne called after midnight. "Mother's telling everyone you've lost your mind," she said. "Camden's backing her. Half the family thinks you're having a breakdown." "Let them think what they want. Good, because I think Mother's been poisoning that well for years. Daphne's voice softened. Is it true? Do you have a son? His name is Prince. He has my eyes, Daphne, my dimple, my laugh. And I missed everything because I believed Mother's lies. What are you going to do? I don't know. Zara won't let me near her. Can you blame her? Put yourself in her position. The man she loved vanished while she was pregnant. She built her whole life without you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want to know my son. Then prove you deserve to, not with money or grand gestures. Prove you're not the man who ran away. Daphne paused. Give her time. That kind of hurt doesn't heal quickly. After hanging up, Justin ordered flowers sent to Zara's suite. Exotic orchids in deep purples and whites. The arrangement came back within an hour with a note in Zara's handwriting. Don't. He tried gifts for Prince next. Educational toys, books, a custom stuffed elephant. All of it was donated to children's hospitals before the packages reached Zara's hands. Anywhere Zara and Prince appeared, Justin tried to position himself nearby. But Nadia was always there first, smoothly redirecting them, creating barriers that seemed effortless. Justin's focus fractured. Meetings ran long because he couldn't concentrate. His assistant started screening calls more aggressively. One afternoon, thunder shook the windows and rain hammered the city. Justin found Zara alone in the hotel library. She stood by the window, watching the storm, and for a moment she looked exactly like the woman he'd known. Justin stepped inside and closed the door quietly. Please don't run. Zara didn't turn around. I should scream for security. But you won't, because part of you wants this conversation as much as I do. You don't know what I want. She finally faced him, eyes holding oceans of pain. You never did. Then tell me. Explain what I can do to fix this. Fix? Zara laughed, sharp enough to draw blood. You think this is something you can fix? I know I destroyed us. But Zara, I was shown DNA results. My mother had documentation from a laboratory. You thought I cheated on you. She crossed her arms. You thought I'd sleep with someone else, get pregnant, and lie about it. That's what you believed about the woman you claimed to love. I was wrong. Wrong doesn't cover it. Wrong is forgetting an anniversary. What you did was annihilation. I called you 17 times that first day. 17. I left messages begging you to talk to me, and you sent every single call to voicemail. I couldn't face you. I thought if I heard your voice, I'd break. So instead, you let me break. Zara's voice rose. I was pregnant and terrified and alone, and the man who'd promised to always be there vanished like I'd never existed. You didn't do anything wrong. It was all Mother. She falsified the results because she didn't think you were good enough. And you believed her. Zara moved closer, each word a hammer strike. That's the part you keep dancing around. Your mother shows you a piece of paper, and you immediately assume I'm a liar. No questions, no conversation. You chose to believe I'd betrayed you rather than fight for what we had. Justin had no defense because she was absolutely right. I should have trusted you. You should have loved me, Zara's voice cracked. Real love doesn't evaporate when things get complicated. Real love asks questions. Real love fights. But you didn't love me enough to do any of that. I'm sorry. Sorry? You're sorry. Well, that fixes everything, doesn't it? Prince. Justin seized on the name. He asks about me. Zara's expression shuttered. He asks about his father sometimes. And I tell him the truth, that his father is a man who runs when life gets hard. The words felt like dying. I'm not running now. I'm here. I'm trying. You're trying because you finally saw your son. But where were you when I was homeless? Where were you when I gave birth alone? Where were you during the nights I wrote on napkins because I couldn't afford notebooks, or when I fed Prince and skipped meals myself? Each question flayed him. I would have been there for all of it if I'd known the truth. But you didn't know because you didn't ask. Zara turned back to the window. That's what you'll never understand. It wasn't just the leaving. It was the not asking. The not fighting, Thunder cracked overhead, and Justin saw his reflection next to Zara's in the glass. They stood close enough to touch, but separated by mountains of hurt. "What can I do?" "Leave us alone. Let Prince grow up without knowing his father is the kind of man who abandons people." Before Justin could respond, the library door burst open and Nadia rushed in. "Miss Beatrice, Prince was looking for you and slipped away." "I can't find him." Zara's face drained of color. "What do you mean?" "He was in the playroom and then he vanished." Zara ran from the library and Justin followed because nothing else mattered. They searched hallways, calling Prince's name, Zara's panic rising with each empty room. "The penthouse floor," Justin said suddenly. "There's a maintenance stairwell. Kids sometimes explore there." He led them to the elevator. The hallway of the penthouse floor was empty and quiet. Justin headed for his own suite, following an instinct he couldn't name. He opened the door, and there, sitting on the floor playing with building blocks, was Prince. The boy looked up and smiled. "Hi, I was looking for Mama, and I saw your door and it had pretty numbers." Zara rushed past Justin and swept Prince into her arms, holding him so tight the boy squeaked. "But Prince Beatrice, you scared me half to death. You can't wander off like that." "But I found the tall man," Prince pointed at Justin. "He brought me home that other time, remember?" Zara's terror transformed into fury as she realized Prince had found his way to Justin's suite. She stood, holding Prince, and the look she gave Justin could have melted steel. "Stay away from my son," she said, her voice shaking with rage and residual fear. "I mean it, Justin. Stay away from us." She carried Prince out, and Nadia followed with an apologetic glance. The door closed, leaving Justin alone with building blocks scattered across his floor and the fading echo of his son's laughter. He sank onto the couch and picked up one of the blocks, a small wooden piece with the letter P painted on it. Prince had been here in Justin's home, playing like he belonged. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was more than Zara wanted to give him, and Justin would take whatever scraps he could get while he figured out how to earn more. Outside, the storm raged on, and somewhere in the presidential suite, Zara held her son and cried, while Prince asked why Mama was sad. Chapter 4. The Invisible Father. Morning light filtered through the penthouse windows, finding Justin exactly where the night had left him, sitting on his couch with a wooden block in his hand. He'd replayed Prince's visit 1,000 times, memorizing the sound of his voice, the way he moved, the innocent trust in his eyes when he looked at the tall man. The hotel phone rang. His front desk manager sounded nervous. "Mr. Lane, there's a delivery being made to Miss Beatrice's suite. The gentleman says it's from you, but Miss Beatrice is refusing it." "What is it?" "It appears to be a large playhouse. Custom-made, quite elaborate." Justin closed his eyes. He'd ordered it late last night in a moment of desperate hope, thinking maybe if he gave Prince something special, something that showed thought rather than just expense, it might soften Zara's walls. "Have it donated," he said tiredly. "Children's hospital in the city. They'll appreciate it more." This became the pattern. Justin sent gifts that Zara rejected, each refusal a small death. A bike with training wheels that would fit Prince perfectly. Educational games designed to challenge bright minds. Books about fathers and sons that Justin chose with shaking hands, hoping Zara might read them to Prince and think about what their son was missing. All of it went to charity. All of it disappeared without ever touching the boy it was meant for. Justin started spending time in the hotel gardens when he knew Zara and Prince would be there. He didn't approach, didn't speak, just existed in the same space, hoping proximity might eventually wear down her defenses. But Nadia always noticed him first, smoothly guiding Zara and Prince to different areas, creating distance that felt calculated down to the inch. His assistant, Keiko, grew worried. "Mr. Lane, you have responsibilities. The regional managers need decisions. The expansion plans are stalled because you haven't reviewed the proposals. Tell them I'll handle it." But Justin didn't handle anything. He sat through meetings without hearing words, signed documents without reading them, went through motions while his mind stayed locked on a woman and child who wanted nothing to do with him. One evening, Justin positioned himself in the hotel lobby when he knew Zara would be returning from a bookstore event. He didn't plan to speak to her. He just wanted to see Prince, even from a distance, even for a moment. They came through the revolving doors, Prince chattering excitedly about something, Zara laughing at whatever story he was telling. But when Prince saw Justin standing by the fountain, the boy stopped mid-sentence and stared. "Mama, that's the tall man." "From your room." Zara's laughter died. She looked at Justin with an expression that mixed anger and something else, something that might have been pain. "Yes, baby, that's him. Can I say hi?" "We need to go upstairs, Prince." "But Mama—" "Now." Zara's tone left no room for argument. She guided Prince toward the elevators, but the boy kept looking back at Justin with curious eyes that broke and healed Justin simultaneously. After they disappeared, Keiko appeared with her tablet and a sympathetic expression. "Sir, your brother Camden called. He's scheduled a meeting tomorrow with the regional directors. He didn't go through your office. What kind of meeting?" "He didn't specify, but he's requested conference room access and brought in several board members." Justin understood immediately. His focus had fractured so completely that Camden saw an opening. His brother had always wanted control, had always resented playing second to Justin's leadership. Now Justin's obsession with Zara had created the perfect opportunity for a coup. "Let him have his meeting," Justin said. "I don't care." "Mr. Lane, this could seriously impact your position in the company." "I said I don't care." Justin walked away from his assistant, from his responsibilities, from everything that used to matter before he saw his son's face. That night, unable to sleep, Justin wandered the hotel's empty corridors. He found himself outside the presidential suite, close enough to hear faint sounds from inside. A child's laughter, Zara's voice reading a bedtime story, the domestic sounds of a life he'd been excluded from. He pressed his hand against the door, wishing he could phase through it, wishing he could be part of those peaceful evening moments instead of haunting them from outside. "This is pathetic. You know." Camden's voice came from down the hall. His brother walked toward him, hands in his pockets, looking disgustingly put together, despite the late hour. "What are you doing here? I have a suite here too, remember? Unlike you, I still care about maintaining our family properties." Camden stopped a few feet away. "The board is concerned, Justin. You've been absent, distracted, making decisions without proper consideration. They're questioning your leadership. So you're here to finish me off? I'm here to point out that you're destroying yourself over a woman who clearly wants nothing to do with you. Let it go. Focus on what matters. The company, the legacy, the future we're supposed to be building." "You sound like Mother." Camden's expression hardened. Maybe Mother was right about some things. Look at you, standing outside a door like a lovesick teenager, ignoring your responsibilities, letting everything you've built crumble because you can't have what you want. That what I want is my son. That what I want is a chance to fix the biggest mistake of my life, then take her to court, demand custody rights, use your resources to force her hand instead of moping around like a ghost. The suggestion made Justin's stomach turn. "I'm not going to hurt Zara more than I already have." "Then you've already lost." Camden turned to leave, then paused. "The meeting tomorrow is about your position as CEO. The board is voting on whether to remove you. Just thought you should know." After Camden left, Justin stayed outside Zara's door for another hour, listening to silence that meant his son was sleeping. His family was complete without him. His absence hadn't left a void that needed filling. He finally returned to his penthouse and pulled out his phone, scrolling through photos he'd secretly taken of Prince in public areas of the hotel. A legal grey area that made him feel like a stalker, but he couldn't stop himself. Each image was evidence that Prince existed, that Justin had a son, that somewhere in this building lived the family he should have been part of. His younger sister Daphne called just after midnight. Camden told me about the vote. Are you going to fight it? I don't know. Maybe Camden should run the company. He wants it more than I do right now. You're giving up? I'm choosing what matters. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing the right thing, even if I'm choosing it too late. And what does Zara think about this noble sacrifice? Zara thinks I'm the man who abandoned her when she needed me most. She's right, Daphne sighed. You know what I think? I think you're punishing yourself because it's easier than fighting for what you want. Standing outside her door, sending gifts she rejects, watching from a distance. None of that is real effort. It's just performance to make yourself feel like you're trying. What am I supposed to do? She won't talk to me. She won't let me near Prince. Then prove you're different than the man who walked away. Not with money or gestures. Prove it through consistency, through patience, through showing up even when it's hard and uncomfortable and she tells you to leave. That's how you earn back trust. Not through grand romantic moves, but through the boring work of being present. After hanging up, Justin sat with Daphne's words, turning them over like stones. She was right. He'd been treating this like a problem to solve, with resources, rather than a relationship to rebuild through effort. The next morning, Justin attended Camden's meeting and listened to the board's concerns. His focus had suffered. Decisions had been delayed. The company's growth had stalled. Camden presented himself as the solution, the brother who could lead, while Justin sorted out his personal chaos. When asked for his response, Justin surprised everyone, including himself. I'm not stepping down as CEO, he said calmly, but I am delegating more authority to Camden and the regional directors. My personal situation doesn't negate my commitment to this company. It just means I need better balance. The board members exchanged glances. Camden looked furious. However, Justin continued, I'm also making changes to my compensation. I'm reducing my salary and redirecting those funds to establish a foundation supporting single parents and homeless families. This is non-negotiable. Justin, that's not necessary, one board member started. It's completely necessary. I've spent years building wealth while people like Zara struggle to survive. That ends now. Camden stood abruptly. This is exactly the kind of emotional decision-making we're concerned about. You're letting this woman manipulate you into destroying what our family has built. No, Justin said quietly. I'm trying to build something that actually matters for the first time in my life. If that threatens you, Camden, then maybe you're the one who's lost focus. The meeting ended without a vote. Justin had bought himself time, but he could feel Camden's ambition like a blade against his back. That afternoon, Justin returned to his penthouse to find a small toy elephant sitting outside his door. Not one of the expensive gifts he'd sent to Prince, but a cheap plastic one from the hotel gift shop. A note was attached in childish crayon for the tall man from Prince. Justin picked up the elephant with shaking hands and held it against his chest. This tiny gesture, this small acknowledgement from his son, meant more than every business victory he'd ever achieved. He carried it inside and placed it on his nightstand where he could see it before sleeping, where he could remember that somewhere in this building, his son thought about him too, maybe not with understanding or love yet, but with curiosity, with interest, with the kind of innocent acceptance that children offer before the world teaches them to be careful. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was the first real connection between father and son, and Justin would protect it like the precious thing it was. Chapter 5. The Grandmother's Gambit. Constance Lane swept through the hotel lobby like winter given human form, her designer coat perfectly tailored, her heels clicking against marble with military precision. Justin saw her before the staff could warn him, and dread settled into his bones. Mother, you're not welcome here. This is a public establishment, darling. You can't actually ban your own mother. Constance removed her sunglasses, fixing him with eyes that had terrified him since childhood. Besides, I'm not here to see you. I'm here to meet my grandson. Absolutely not. You don't get to make that decision. I have rights as Prince's grandmother. Blood doesn't disappear because you're angry with me. Justin stepped closer, lowering his voice so guests wouldn't hear. You falsified DNA results to destroy my relationship. You've shown no remorse. You're not getting anywhere near my son. Our son, a voice said from behind him. Zara stood near the concierge desk, Nadia at her shoulder. She must have been coming down for lunch. And I agree with Justin for once. You're not meeting Prince. Constance turned her attention to Zara, and Justin saw his mother assess and dismiss her in a single glance. So you're the artist who's caused all this trouble. You're prettier than your photos suggest, I'll give you that. And you're exactly as cold as I imagined, Zara replied evenly. Now leave before I call security. I'm not leaving until we discuss reasonable arrangements for me to meet my grandson. I can be civilized about this, or I can involve lawyers. Your choice. Lawyers? Zara laughed, sharp and bright. You think you can threaten me with lawyers? Lady, I've survived things that would destroy you. Some courthouse paperwork doesn't scare me. Constance pulled documents from her bag, handing them to Zara. These are preliminary filings for grandparents' rights. My attorneys have compiled quite the case. Your history of homelessness, the instability during your pregnancy, the lack of consistent housing even now, since you're living in a hotel. A judge might find that concerning when considering Prince's best interests. Justin snatched the papers, scanning them with growing horror. His mother hadn't just threatened legal action. She'd already begun the process, documenting every hardship Zara had faced and twisting them into evidence of unfitness. You're using her survival against her. Justin's voice rose. She was homeless because I abandoned her. The instability was my fault. That's not how the courts will see it, Constance said calmly. They'll see a mother with an inconsistent history and a father who can provide unlimited resources. They'll see a child who deserves better than living in hotels and touring around the country. Zara's face had gone pale, but her voice stayed steady. Get out of my sight before I forget I'm a role model for children. Think carefully about this, Miss Beatrice. I'm offering a reasonable solution. Let me meet Prince, establish a relationship, and the legal proceedings can stop. Continue refusing, and this gets very ugly for you. Constance left before anyone could respond, her exit as calculated as her arrival. Zara stood frozen, the papers trembling in her hands, and Justin saw her strength fracture for the first time since she'd arrived at his hotel. She can't do this, Zara whispered. She can't take him. I've done everything right. I've given him everything. She won't take him. I won't let that happen. Zara turned on him, fury replacing fear. You won't let it happen? You're the reason this is happening. If you hadn't, she cut herself off, looking around at the lobby full of guests, pretending not to stare. I need to go. Zara, wait. But she was already moving toward the elevators, Nadia clearing a path through curious onlookers. Justin followed at a distance, respecting her space, but refusing to let her face this alone. He stopped at her suite door, knocking gently. Please let me help. I have lawyers, resources, everything we need to fight this. The door opened, but it was Nadia who stood there. She doesn't want to see you right now. I understand. But tell her my attorneys are at her disposal. Tell her I'll do whatever it takes to protect Prince. Nadia's expression softened slightly. She knows. Now give her space to process. The door closed, leaving Justin in the hallway where he'd spent so many nights haunting the edges of his son's life. He pulled out his phone and called his personal attorney, detailing Constance's threat and demanding an immediate strategy. These grandparents' rights cases are tricky, the attorney warned. If she can prove the child would benefit from her presence, and if she can demonstrate that you've been absent from Prince's life, she might have a case. I was absent because I was lied to. That should matter. It does matter, but it doesn't erase the absence. And her lawyers are smart. They're attacking Zara's fitness as a parent rather than yours. That's harder to defend against because it puts Zara on trial for circumstances beyond her control. Justin ended the call and pressed his forehead against Zara's door. From inside he heard crying. Not Prince, but Zara, her sobs muffled but unmistakable. The sound destroyed him because he'd caused this. His mother's cruelty was an extension of his own cowardice. And now Zara was paying for his failures again. Hours later, after Zara had cried herself silent and Prince had been distracted with cartoons, she finally opened the door. Justin still stood there and she looked at him with eyes swollen from tears. "Why are you still here?" "Because you're not facing this alone." "Not anymore. I don't need your protection, Justin. I've been handling things alone for years. I know you have. I know you're strong enough to survive anything. But you shouldn't have to." Justin kept his voice gentle. "Let me fight this battle. Let me use my resources for something that actually matters, please." Zara studied him, searching for something in his face. "If you do this, it changes things. We'd have to work together, and I don't know if I can be in the same room with you for extended periods without wanting to break something." "Break whatever you need. Yell at me, hate me, blame me for everything. Just let me help." She stepped back, allowing him into her suite for the first time since she'd checked in. The space was full of Prince's artwork on the walls, toys organized in bins, books stacked on every surface. It looked like a home, not a hotel room, and Justin realized Zara had created safety and comfort wherever she landed because that's what mothers did. Prince sat on the couch, absorbed in a cartoon, and barely glanced up when Justin entered. Zara sat across from her son, gesturing for Justin to take a chair near the window. "I'm terrified," she said quietly. "Your mother has unlimited money, family connections, and apparently no conscience. How do I fight that? You have the truth. You're an amazing mother who's given Prince everything, despite impossible circumstances. No court will take him from you. You don't know that. Family courts favor stability and wealth. I've been living in hotels for months because of this book tour. I don't have a permanent address. I don't have extended family to vouch for my support system. On paper, I look exactly like what your mother's claiming, unstable and alone." Justin wanted to argue, but she was right. Constance's lawyers would paint Zara's resilience as instability, her independence as isolation. "Then we change the narrative," he said. "We show that you've built success from nothing. We bring in your publisher, the parents from Prince's playgroups, everyone who knows you're exceptional. We make it impossible for any judge to question your fitness. And what about you?" Zara's gaze pinned him. "You're part of this equation too. The absent father who finally showed up. That doesn't exactly strengthen my case. Then I'll testify about the lies I was told. I'll explain why I wasn't there and take full responsibility for believing them. I'll make it clear that my absence was my failure, not yours." Prince laughed at something on television, the sound innocent and pure, and both adults fell silent, watching him. This child, this perfect little person who'd been created from their love, deserved better than the war brewing around him. "I have one condition," Zara said finally. "If we're doing this together, you follow my lead. I decide how much access you get to Prince. I decide what he's told. I decide everything. This isn't about you getting what you want. It's about protecting our son. Agreed. Whatever you say." "And Justin?" Zara's voice hardened. "If you disappoint him, if you make promises you don't keep, if you show him even a fraction of the abandonment you showed me, I will destroy you in ways that make your mother look merciful. Do you understand?" "I understand." They talked strategy until Prince fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from his busy day. Justin watched Zara carry their son to the bedroom with practiced ease, her movements gentle despite the weight of everything pressing down on her shoulders. When she returned, she looked older somehow, like Constance's threat had aged her years in hours. "You should go," she said. "We can meet with lawyers tomorrow." Justin stood to leave but paused at the door. "For what it's worth, you're the best mother Prince could have. Any judge who sees you with him will know that immediately." Pretty words don't change reality, but thank you for trying. After Justin left, Zara sat in the dark living room and let herself acknowledge the terror coursing through her veins. She'd survived poverty, abandonment, homelessness, and single parenthood. She'd built a career from napkins and paper bags. She'd given Prince everything despite having nothing. And now, a bitter old woman with unlimited resources wanted to take it all away simply because she could, simply because Zara had dared to fall in love with the wrong man. Prince cried out from the bedroom, a nightmare pulling him from sleep. Zara went to him immediately, singing the lullaby she'd sung since he was born, the one about brave little boys who could conquer any darkness. But as she held her son and felt his tears soak her shoulder, Zara wondered if her strength would be enough this time, wondered if love and determination could really defeat money and cruelty, wondered if the life she'd built could withstand another assault from the Lane family. In his penthouse, Justin made calls until dawn, mobilizing attorneys and resources, preparing for war with his own mother. He'd failed Zara once by believing lies. He wouldn't fail her again by standing aside while Constance tried to steal their son. This time, Justin Lane would fight, even if fighting meant burning down everything he'd built from the ashes of his greatest mistake. Chapter 6: The Rival's Return. The man who stepped out of the limousine looked like he belonged in music videos and magazine spreads. Elijah Booker moved with the easy confidence of someone who'd never been told no. His designer clothes understated, but expensive. His smile bright enough to light the hotel lobby. He headed straight for the elevators, like he knew exactly where he was going. Justin watched from his office window, 6 floors above, as Elijah disappeared into the building. He didn't need his assistant to tell him who the man was, but Keiko appeared anyway with her tablet and a sympathetic expression. That's Elijah Booker, music producer from Los Angeles. According to his social media, he's here to support Ms. Beatrice during her legal troubles. How do you know about her legal troubles? Mr. Lane, the entire staff knows. Your mother showed up and threatened to take Prince. Word travels fast in hotels. Justin returned to his desk, pretending Elijah's arrival didn't feel like a knife between his ribs. Zara had every right to have friends, supporters, people who'd been there for her when Justin hadn't. But knowing it intellectually and feeling it emotionally were different things entirely. That evening, Justin went to the hotel restaurant for dinner he didn't want, needing to be somewhere public, somewhere he couldn't pace his penthouse like a caged animal. He was halfway through a meal he wasn't tasting when he saw them. Zara, Prince, and Elijah at a corner table. The boy sat between the adults, chattering away, and Elijah listened with genuine interest, making Prince laugh with exaggerated reactions. Zara looked relaxed in a way Justin hadn't seen since she'd arrived, her smile real instead of forced. Then Elijah pulled out a ring box. Justin's fork clattered to his plate. He couldn't hear the words from across the restaurant, but he saw Zara's shock, saw her hand fly to her mouth, saw Prince clap excitedly because children love drama they didn't understand. Zara didn't immediately say yes. She talked to Elijah quietly, glancing at Prince, who'd already lost interest, and returned to coloring his menu. But she didn't say no either. She took the box, opened it to reveal a ring that caught the light, and promised to think about it. Justin stood abruptly, throwing cash on his table without counting it, needing to escape before he did something stupid. He made it to his penthouse before his legs gave out, dropping onto his couch with his head in his hands. Elijah Booker was proposing, offering Zara everything Justin should have offered years ago: commitment, partnership, a future without fear. And why shouldn't she accept? Elijah had been there when Justin wasn't. Elijah had supported her through the darkness. Elijah hadn't broken her heart and abandoned her pregnant. His phone buzzed. Daphne had sent a text. "I heard about Elijah's proposal. You okay?" No, Justin wasn't okay. He was dying slowly while watching the woman he loved consider building a life with someone else. He was realizing that being right about Prince's paternity didn't erase being wrong about everything else. He was understanding that some things, once broken, couldn't be fixed with apologies or resources or even time. A knock interrupted his spiral. Justin opened the door expecting Keiko or hotel staff, but found Zara instead. She stood in the hallway alone, her arms wrapped around herself like armor. "Is Prince with Elijah?" Justin asked, hating how his voice caught on another man's name. "Nadia's watching him. We need to talk." Justin stepped aside, letting her into his space for the second time in as many days. Zara walked to the windows, looking out at the city lights, and Justin remembered all the nights they'd stood like this before, everything shattered. "Elijah wants to marry me," she said without preamble. "I saw the proposal. He thinks it'll help with the custody case, show stability, family structure, that Prince would have a father figure." "Is that the only reason he proposed?" Zara turned, and her expression was complicated. "No, Elijah loves me. He's loved me since we met during my darkest days. He helped pay for Prince's daycare when I was broke. He celebrated my first book deal like it was his own achievement. He's been everything you weren't." Each word landed like a fist. "Are you going to say yes?" "I don't know. The practical part of me says yes immediately. Elijah is safe and good and present. He's never broken my heart. He's never made me doubt my worth. He's offering Prince a stable home with two parents who actually want to be there." "And the impractical part?" Zara's eyes met his, and Justin saw oceans of pain swimming in their depths. "The impractical part remembers what it felt like to love you, to wake up next to you and feel like the world made sense, to laugh until my stomach hurt at your terrible jokes, to believe that what we had was forever." "Zara, don't." She held up a hand. "I'm not telling you this to give you hope. I'm telling you this so you understand what you destroyed. That kind of love doesn't come twice in a lifetime, and you threw it away like garbage." I Justin crossed to her, stopping just close enough to see the tears she was fighting. "If I could go back, if I could undo everything—" "But you can't. That's the tragedy, isn't it? You can't unmake your choices. You can't erase the nights I cried myself to sleep. You can't give me back the version of myself that believed in happy endings. So, you're going to marry Elijah?" "I'm going to make the smart choice for once. I'm going to choose the man who shows up, the man who doesn't run when things get difficult, the man who loves Prince like his own." "I love Prince." Justin's voice broke. "I love you. I've never stopped loving you, even when I thought I should." "Love isn't enough." Zara wiped her eyes angrily. "Love without trust, without loyalty, without the courage to fight for what matters, that's not real love. That's just feelings that evaporate when tested." They stood in silence, the city humming below them, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down like atmosphere. Justin wanted to argue, to fight, to make her see that he'd changed. But Daphne's words echoed. "Prove it through consistency, through patience, through showing up even when it's hard." "If you marry Elijah, can I still see Prince?" he asked quietly. "Of course, you're his father, but understand what you're asking. You want to be part of Prince's life while I build a family with someone else. You want to watch another man raise your son, teach him things, be there for moments you should have been there for." "I know, and I'll live with that pain if it means Prince is happy and you're safe from my mother." Zara studied him like she was seeing him for the first time. "When did you become willing to sacrifice your own happiness?" "When I saw what my selfishness cost you." She turned back to the windows, and Justin saw her shoulders shake with suppressed emotion. "Elijah is downstairs right now, playing with Prince, reading him bedtime stories. He's already more of a father than you've been." Why should I choose you over him? You shouldn't. The admission tasted like ashes. Elijah is the better choice. He's been there. He's earned Prince's trust and your love. I've earned nothing except the right to watch from outside the life I should have had. Zara spun to face him. Then why are you fighting? Why not just let me go, let us go and move on with your life? Because even if I can't have you, I need to know you're okay. I need to know Prince is safe from my mother. I need to do this one thing right, even if every other thing I've done has been wrong. You're not going to beg me to reject his proposal. Not going to promise me the world if I choose you instead. No, because you deserve someone who chooses you first, always, without hesitation. And I already proved I'm not that person. Zara's tears finally fell, tracking down her cheeks in silent streams. I hate you for making me remember what it felt like to love you. I know. I hate you for showing up too late. I know. I hate you for making me believe in happy endings and then destroying them. I know. Justin stayed perfectly still, letting her words land, accepting every ounce of her pain as deserved. For what it's worth, I hate myself too, every day, every moment, every time I see Prince's face and remember I wasn't there when he was born. Zara walked to the door, then paused with her hand on the handle. Elijah asked me to move to Los Angeles with him. Start fresh somewhere new, away from your mother and this mess. I told him I'd think about it. The words felt like watching a car crash in slow motion. When would you leave? After the custody hearing, whether we win or lose, staying here feels like torture. Please don't take Prince away. Justin's composure finally cracked. Fight me, hate me, make me suffer, but please don't take my son where I can't see him. You took him from yourself. Zara opened the door. Remember that. Everything that's happening now is consequence, not punishment. She left, and Justin collapsed against his door, sliding down until he sat on the floor with his knees pulled to his chest. Somewhere in this building, Elijah Booker played with Prince, making the boy laugh, being present in ways Justin had never managed. His phone rang. Camden's name flashed on the screen. I heard about the proposal, his brother said without greeting. This is your chance, Justin. Let her go. Focus on rebuilding everything you've neglected. Come back to the family. Make peace with Mother. Move forward. I can't. Why not? She's clearly chosen someone else. You're torturing yourself for nothing. Because Prince deserves a father who fights for him, even if that father can't be the one who raises him. Camden sighed, frustrated. You're destroying yourself over people who don't want you. When are you going to learn that some battles can't be won? This isn't a battle to win, Camden. It's a debt to repay. After hanging up, Justin pulled out his phone and looked at the photos he'd taken of Prince in public areas. His son's smile, his son's curious eyes, his son's small hands wrapped around that stuffed elephant. If Zara married Elijah and moved to Los Angeles, these photos would be all Justin had. Memories of a child he'd known for days instead of years. Glimpses of a life he'd destroyed before it could begin. He sat on his floor until dawn, mourning the loss of something he'd never actually possessed, grieving for futures that existed only in his imagination, accepting that sometimes the right thing meant letting go of everything you wanted most. In the presidential suite, Zara held her sleeping son and cried silent tears, while Elijah's ring box sat on her nightstand, unopened since he'd given it to her, representing a future that should have felt like salvation, but somehow tasted like defeat. Chapter 7. The Truth Bearer's Confession. The woman who appeared in the hotel lobby looked ill, her skin pale and her hands shaking. Keiko called Justin immediately when she mentioned DNA tests and Constance Lane. Her name is Thea Caldwell. Keiko whispered. She has information about Miss Beatrice's case. Justin met Thea in a private conference room. She clutched a folder against her chest like a shield, her eyes haunted. I worked at the laboratory your mother used, Thea said without preamble. I falsified the DNA results. Your mother paid me $50,000 to create documentation showing the baby wasn't yours. My daughter had cancer and insurance wouldn't cover treatment. I told myself it was just paperwork, that I wasn't really hurting anyone. You destroyed my life. Justin's voice came out surprisingly calm. I know. My daughter is in remission now, healthy, but I can't sleep knowing what I did. I have everything here, the paperwork, recordings, bank transfers. I want to make this right, even if it means jail. Justin scanned the documents. His mother's cruelty had been methodical and calculated. Constance had researched, planned, and executed the destruction of his relationship with precision. Why now? Because I heard about the custody case. I can't let my actions help her hurt that family again. Thea's eyes filled with tears. I made a terrible choice when desperate, but I won't stay silent while that choice continues causing damage. Justin immediately called his attorney and Zara. When Zara arrived with Elijah, she looked exhausted. Thea repeated her confession, while Zara's face transformed from confusion to rage to grief. You took money to destroy my life, Zara said quietly, dangerously. You helped that woman take away the man I loved, made me think I was worthless, left me homeless and pregnant because your conscience had a price tag. I know, I'm sorry. Those words don't fix anything. You're right. They don't. Zara stood abruptly. But this evidence makes sure Constance Lane doesn't get anywhere near my son. After Thea left with Justin's attorney, Zara paced while Elijah and Justin watched from opposite sides. This changes everything, Elijah said carefully. Constance's case falls apart. It doesn't change that Justin believed the lie, Zara shot back. It doesn't erase that he walked away without questioning, without fighting. But he was deceived, Elijah argued, surprising Justin. Professionally deceived by someone he trusted. That's different than just choosing to believe the worst. Why are you defending him? Zara stopped pacing. You're proposing marriage. Why defend the man who destroyed my past? Elijah held his ground. Because I love you, which means I want you to have all the information before making decisions. If Justin was manipulated, you deserve to know that. Justin saw why Zara cared for Elijah. The man had integrity even when it worked against his own interests. I need to see your mother, Zara said, turning to Justin. I need to look her in the eyes and ask her why she destroyed us. I'll take you to her. Justin stood. But she won't apologize. She believes she was protecting the family legacy. I don't want her apology. I want her to know she failed. They drove to the Lane estate in silence. The iron gates opened slowly, like jaws reluctant to admit prey. Constance waited in the library, looking unbothered. So the hired help decided to confess, Constance said. How disappointing. You paid her to destroy lives, Zara corrected, her voice steady despite visible anger. You saw your son happy and decided it wasn't the right kind of happiness. I saw my son distracted by someone beneath him. I took action to protect our family. Your family. Zara moved closer, fearless. Not Justin's family, not the family he wanted to build with me. Your family, your legacy, your control. You were a struggling artist living in poverty. What could you possibly offer a man like Justin except dragging him down? I offered him love. Real love, without conditions or calculations. But you couldn't stand that he chose me over your approval. Everything I did was for his benefit. Everything you did was for your benefit. Justin spoke for the first time. You wanted a son who obeyed, who valued legacy over love. You got him for a while, but you don't have him anymore. Constance's expression finally cracked. Justin, don't be hasty. We can resolve this as a family. We're not a family. We're people connected by biology and trauma. Actual family doesn't weaponize laboratories to destroy each other's happiness. If you side with her over me, you'll have nothing. Camden will take the company. The family will disown you. Good, because everything we built was constructed on lies. Justin took Zara's hand. She didn't pull away. I'd rather have nothing. And no, I chose right than have everything, and no, I chose you. But they left before Constance could respond. In the car, Zara stared at their joined hands. You just destroyed your relationship with your entire family, she said quietly. No, Constance destroyed it years ago. I just finally acknowledged the damage. Dro, where does this leave us? Wherever you want it to leave us, he said. This was about exposing the truth, not earning your forgiveness. Zara pulled her hand away. The truth doesn't erase what happened. It explains it, but it doesn't fix it. I know. The custody case would collapse now. Prince was safe, but Zara and Justin remained broken, shattered pieces that might explain their sharp edges, but still couldn't fit back together without drawing blood. In the hotel lobby, Elijah waited with Prince, who ran to his mother. Mama, Uncle Eli taught me a song about frogs. Zara swept her son into her arms. Over Prince's head, her eyes met Justin's, and he saw the question there. What now? Justin didn't have an answer. He'd exposed his mother's cruelty, proven he'd been deceived rather than cruel. But none of that changed the fundamental truth that he'd walked away when Zara needed him most. Some betrayals, even when explained, remained unforgivable. Chapter 8. The Son's Question. Prince had started asking questions that no 2-year-old should have to ask. He asked them during breakfast, during bath time, during the quiet moments before sleep, when children's minds processed the confusing world around them. Mama, why doesn't my daddy live with us? Zara set down the children's book she'd been reading, her heart constricting. Prince sat in his pajamas, his stuffed elephant clutched under one arm, green eyes identical to Justin's, looking at her with innocent confusion. Daddy and Mama aren't together, baby. Sometimes grown-ups can't live in the same house. But Tyler's daddy lives with him, and Emma's daddy picks her up from playgroup. Why doesn't my daddy do that? Your daddy, he made some mistakes, and Mama needed time to not be sad. What mistakes? How did you explain adult betrayal to a child whose world was still painted in primary colors? How did you tell your son that his father had believed lies instead of love? How did you make sense of something that barely made sense to you? Sometimes people hurt each other, even when they don't mean to, Zara said carefully. Your daddy hurt Mama's feelings really badly, and we've been apart since before you were born. But he seems nice now. He gave me that elephant. Prince held up the cheap plastic toy Justin had treasured like gold. And he smiles at me in the lobby. Zara's throat tightened. He is nice sometimes. But nice isn't always enough. Can nice people say sorry? The question landed like a physical blow. Yes, baby, nice people can say sorry. Then why doesn't Daddy say sorry? If he says sorry, can he live with us? Zara pulled Prince close, breathing in his little boy smell of shampoo and innocence. It's more complicated than that, sweet boy. But I promise you have a daddy who loves you very much. Then why wasn't he here before? The question came out small and confused, and Zara realized she'd been avoiding this conversation for months, hoping Prince was too young to notice patterns. But children noticed everything, especially absences. Because Mama didn't tell him he could be here. Because Mama was still hurt and needed space to heal. Are you healed now? Was she? Zara didn't know anymore. The evidence from Thea Caldwell had reframed everything, transforming Justin's betrayal from deliberate cruelty into manipulation's consequence. But knowing he'd been deceived didn't erase the months she'd spent homeless, the birth she'd endured alone, the nights she'd cried while Prince slept oblivious to his mother's breaking heart. "I'm healing," she said finally. "Healing takes a long time." She tucked Prince into bed, singing him to sleep, and when his breathing evened out, she sat in the living room and let herself think about what forgiveness might actually mean. Could she forgive Justin for believing his mother? Could she forgive him for walking away without questions? Could she forgive herself for still loving the man who destroyed her? A knock interrupted her spiral. She opened the door expecting Nadia, but found Elijah instead, still dressed from dinner, looking serious in a way that made her stomach tighten. "We need to talk," he said gently. She let him in, and they sat on opposite ends of the couch like strangers trying to respect personal space. Elijah studied her face, and Zara knew he saw too much. "You're still in love with him," Elijah said quietly. "After everything, after all the evidence of his mother's manipulation, after all the explanations, you're still in love with Justin Lane." "I don't want to be. That's not the same as not being." Elijah took her hand, his touch warm and safe. "I've been watching you these past few days. Every time Justin walks into a room, you stop breathing. Every time Prince mentions his daddy, you get this look like your heart is breaking and healing, simultaneously. That's not indifference, Zara. That's love that never stopped. Loving him doesn't mean I should be with him. No, it doesn't. But marrying me when you're in love with someone else isn't fair to anyone. Especially Prince." Elijah pulled out the ring box and set it on the coffee table between them. "I'm withdrawing my proposal." "Elijah, let me finish." He squeezed her hand gently. "I meant everything I said when I proposed. I do love you. I would be honored to raise Prince as my own. But I also love you enough to recognize that I'm a safety net, not a choice. You're choosing me because I'm there, because I'm good enough, because I make logical sense. But you're not choosing me, because when you close your eyes, I'm the face you see." Tears streamed down Zara's cheeks. "You deserve better than being someone's second choice. And you deserve better than settling for safe when you still believe in magic." Elijah wiped her tears with his thumb. "That's who you are, Zara. You write stories where impossible things happen because you believe in them. Don't give up on that belief just because reality hurt you." "I'm terrified." The admission broke from her chest. "What if I forgive Justin and he breaks my heart again? What if I let him into Prince's life and he disappears when things get hard? What if I choose hope and it destroys us?" Those are all valid fears. But what if he doesn't? What if he's learned? What if the man who was deceived is different from the man who walked away? Elijah stood, preparing to leave. "I'm not saying forgive him. I'm saying don't make permanent decisions about temporary feelings. Let yourself feel everything, even the scary parts." After Elijah left, Zara sat with his ring box, opening it one final time before putting it in her suitcase. Safety had been such a tempting option, such a logical choice. But Elijah was right. She'd been choosing him to avoid choosing Justin, and that wasn't fair to anyone. The next afternoon, Justin joined them at the hotel playground for a supervised visit. These had become routine since the custody threat collapsed. Nadia watching from a bench while Justin and Prince played, Zara maintaining careful distance. But today, Prince grabbed Justin's hand and pulled him toward the swings. "Daddy, can you push me really high? Mama gets scared when I go too high." Justin glanced at Zara, asking permission with his eyes. She nodded and he positioned himself behind the swing, giving Prince gentle pushes that made the boy giggle. "Higher!" "Are you sure?" "This is pretty high already. I'm super brave. Mama says I can do anything if I'm brave." Justin pushed higher, and Prince screamed with laughter, arms outstretched like he could touch clouds. Watching them, Zara felt something crack open in her chest. Some sealed chamber she'd kept locked since Justin had left her. This was what she'd imagined when she first found out she was pregnant. Justin pushing their son on swings. both of them laughing, building memories from ordinary moments. She'd grieved this exact scene for months, convinced it would never exist. But here it was, happening in real time, proving that lost things could sometimes be found even after you'd stopped looking. When Prince, tired of swinging, he demanded both parents sit with him in the sandbox. Justin looked uncertain, but Zara patted the ground beside her, and he sat close enough that their shoulders nearly touched. Prince built elaborate castles while narrating stories about dragons and knights. Oblivious to the charged silence between his parents, Justin helped dig moats while Zara shaped turrets, and for 20 minutes, they were just two people building sandcastles with their son. The weight of their history temporarily suspended. "Why don't we do this all the time?" Prince asked suddenly, looking between them. "Why can't Daddy stay with us instead of going to different rooms?" Zara opened her mouth, but no words came. Justin saved her. "Because Mama and I are still learning how to be friends again," he said carefully. "Sometimes grown-ups need time to figure things out, but you look happy now. You're smiling." Justin met Zara's eyes across their son's head. "I am happy. Right here, right now, building castles with you. I'm happier than I've been in years." "Then stay happy. Don't go back to your different room." The simple logic of childhood, where happiness was enough reason for anything. Prince returned to his construction project, satisfied with his solution, while his parents sat in the wreckage of their complicated reality. That night, after Prince fell asleep, Zara knocked on Justin's penthouse door. He opened it looking surprised, wearing casual clothes instead of his usual suits, his hair slightly messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Of course. Come in." They gravitated to the windows again, standing side by side, but not touching, the city lights stretching below them like possibilities. "Prince asked me if people who make mistakes can say sorry," Zara said quietly. "He asked if you saying sorry would mean you could live with us." "What did you tell him?" That it's more complicated than that." "But Justin, is it? Is it really more complicated? Or have I been making it complicated because I'm afraid?" "Afraid of what?" "Afraid that if I forgive you, I'm saying what happened was okay. That being abandoned while pregnant is forgivable if the explanation is good enough. That love means accepting pain." Justin turned to face her fully. "Forgiving me doesn't mean accepting what happened. It means deciding that holding on to anger hurts you more than letting it go." "But Zara, you don't owe me forgiveness. You don't owe me anything." "I know. That's what makes this so hard. I want to hate you. I want to make you suffer the way I suffered. I want you to understand, in your bones, what it felt like to be left." Her voice broke. "But every time I see you with Prince, every time I watch you push him on swings and build sandcastles and just be present, I remember why I loved you in the first place. I'm not the same person who walked away. Neither am I. We're both different now. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we're trying to resurrect something that can't exist anymore because we're not who we were." Justin stepped closer, not quite touching, but near enough that Zara could feel his warmth. "Then maybe we don't resurrect the past. Maybe we build something new from what's left. Something honest and hard-won instead of easy and fragile. I don't know if I can do that." "Then don't decide tonight. Don't decide this week or this month. Just let me prove day after day that I'm not going anywhere. Let me show Prince what a present father looks like. Let me earn back trust in the smallest increments until maybe, someday, you can look at me without pain." Zara's tears fell freely now. "What if someday never comes? Then I'll keep showing up anyway. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You show up even when it's hard, even when they can't love you back, even when the ending isn't guaranteed." She left without answering, but something had shifted in the way she held her shoulders when she walked away. Not forgiveness, but maybe the first tentative step toward considering it. In the presidential suite, Zara held Elijah's ring box one final time before setting it aside permanently. Safe had its appeal, but Prince's question echoed in her mind. Can nice people say sorry? She didn't know yet if sorry was enough. but she was starting to think she might be willing to find out. Chapter 9. The Custody Battlefield. The courthouse loomed like a monument to broken families, its stone facade cold and impersonal. Zara stood outside with her attorney, watching lawyers stream past. She wore her best dress, armor disguised as professional clothing. Justin arrived separately, flanked by his legal team. He'd insisted on paying for everything, Zara's attorneys, all court costs, whatever resources she needed. Constance entered last, looking regal despite the scandal. Camden walked beside her, a united front. Several Lane family members clustered behind them, relatives who'd chosen Constance's version over Justin's truth. Inside the courtroom, the judge looked tired. Constance's attorney presented opening arguments painting a picture of instability. Zara's homelessness, her transient lifestyle touring for books, her lack of permanent address. They showed photos of the car she'd lived in while pregnant, bank statements proving her poverty, hospital records from Prince's birth listing no father present. Miss Beatrice survived through admirable resilience, the attorney conceded smoothly. But survival isn't the same as thriving. Prince Beatrice deserves better than a mother constantly on the road, living in hotels. Zara's attorney countered with evidence of her success, best-selling books, financial stability, testimonials from parents about her exceptional mothering. But Constance's team kept hammering on the homelessness, making it sound like moral failure. Then they called Justin to the stand. "Mr. Lane, when did you first learn about Prince Beatrice's existence?" "When I saw him in my hotel lobby. Before that, I believed he wasn't my son." "And what led you to that belief?" "My mother provided DNA test results showing the child wasn't mine. I later learned those results were falsified." The attorney pounced. "But at the time, you believed them completely. Believed them enough to abandon Miss Beatrice while she was pregnant. Is that correct?" "Yes." The word came out raw with shame. "So from Prince Beatrice's perspective, he has a father who abandoned his pregnant mother and only returned when convenient. A father who chose to believe paperwork over the woman he claimed to love. Does that sum it up?" "That's how it must look to my son, yes." "And you want custody rights? Access to a child you willingly abandoned?" "I want my son to know his father." "But I'm not seeking custody. I'm supporting Miss Beatrice's sole custody. This hearing is about my mother's attempt to take Prince from the only parent who's been there since birth." When Thea took the stand, she looked like she might be sick. Her hands shook as she confirmed everything, the payment, the falsified documents, Constance's explicit instructions. "Why did you agree to do this?" Zara's attorney asked gently. "My daughter had cancer. Insurance wouldn't cover treatment. Mrs. Lane offered me $50,000, and I took it because watching your child die feels like dying yourself. I told myself nobody would really get hurt. I was wrong about everything. And your daughter now? She's in remission, healthy. And I'm here accepting responsibility because I can't let my actions continue hurting that little boy." Constance's attorney tried to discredit Thea, but the evidence was too solid. Bank transfers, emails, recordings capturing Constance's voice discussing the plan. During a recess, Zara found Justin in a private hallway. He stood with his back against the wall, looking like he was holding himself together through sheer will. "That was brutal," she said quietly. "Deserved. Everything he said about me abandoning you was true, but you were deceived." "That matters." Before Zara could respond, Camden appeared. He approached slowly, looking uncomfortable. "Justin, I need to tell you something." Camden glanced at Zara. "Both of you. I knew, not about the falsified test specifically, but I knew Mother was planning something to break you up. She talked about it constantly. When you suddenly ended things, I suspected Mother had intervened, but I convinced myself it was for the best." "So you knew I might have a son and said nothing?" Justin's voice was dangerously quiet. "I didn't know about Prince, I swear. I just knew Mother was scheming, and I let it happen because part of me was glad." "Glad you'd focus on work again." Camden's voice cracked. "I'm sorry." Justin stared at his brother. Get away from me, Camden. Go back to Mother and the legacy you both worship more than actual people. Camden left without arguing, and Justin sagged against the wall. Zara moved closer, her hand finding his. I have nobody left, Justin said hollowly. My mother's a monster, my brother's a coward. You have Daphne, and you have Prince if you don't screw it up. Do I have you? The question hung between them. Zara didn't know how to answer, so she simply held his hand while they waited. The afternoon session brought character witnesses. Leona testified about Zara's professionalism. Parents talked about how Prince flourished under her care. A social worker spoke about a well-adjusted child who clearly felt loved. But when Constance took the stand, the tide shifted. Mrs. Lane, did you pay Thea Caldwell to falsify DNA test results? I did what was necessary to protect my son from making a catastrophic mistake. Did you pay her? Yes, I paid her to ensure Justin understood the situation clearly. You mean you paid her to lie? I paid her to protect the Lane family legacy. And now you're seeking custody of that woman's son, the grandson you tried to erase. Help me understand the logic. Constance's composure cracked slightly. Prince deserves to know his heritage, his family name. His mother can't provide those things. His mother provided everything when you ensured his father provided nothing. The cross-examination exposed Constance's ruthless calculation. By the time she stepped down, even her own attorney looked uncomfortable. The judge took a brief recess, leaving everyone waiting in tense silence. Zara sat with Justin in the gallery, their hands still linked, and she realized something had changed during the hearing. Seeing Justin broken on the stand, watching him own every failure, it shifted something in her chest. When the judge returned, her expression gave nothing away. I've reviewed all evidence presented. The testimony regarding falsified DNA tests is deeply concerning. Mrs. Lane engaged in fraudulent activity that caused significant harm. While grandparents' rights exist, they require proof that visitation serves the child's best interests. Constance sat straighter, confident even now. I find no such proof. In fact, I find compelling evidence that Mrs. Lane's presence would be detrimental. Her actions demonstrate manipulation and control that prioritizes family image over individual well-being. This petition is denied. Additionally, I'm issuing a restraining order preventing Mrs. Lane from contacting Prince Beatrice without explicit parental consent. Constance's face went white. Furthermore, regarding custody between Miss Beatrice and Mr. Lane, while Mr. Lane's abandonment was the result of deception, it was still abandonment. However, I'm impressed by his support of Miss Beatrice's sole custody, rather than fighting for his own rights. That shows growth. The judge looked at Zara. Miss Beatrice, you've demonstrated exceptional resilience and parenting ability. Sole custody remains with you. However, I'm ordering supervised visitation for Mr. Lane, with supervision to be gradually reduced as trust is established. Prince deserves to know his father. The gavel came down, final and absolute. Constance swept from the courtroom with Camden trailing behind. The Lane family members followed, their disappointed looks making clear they blamed Justin. Zara felt like she could finally breathe. Her son was safe. The nightmare was over. In the courthouse hallway, Justin stood alone near the windows. Zara walked over, and he looked at her with exhaustion written across his face. You did it, he said quietly. You protected Prince from my family. We did it. Your testimony made the difference. They stood in silence, and Zara realized she was still holding Justin's hand. Two people connected by their son, by their history, by their slowly healing wounds. What happens now? Justin asked. Now we figure out how to co-parent. How to give Prince both his parents without destroying ourselves. Zara looked up at him. One day at a time, without expectations. I can do that. As they discussed logistics, planning schedules and arrangements, Zara felt the strangest sensation. It felt like building something. Not the passionate love they'd shared before, but something steadier, something that might actually last. Later that night, after putting Prince to bed, Zara sat alone and let herself cry. Relief, exhaustion, residual anger, cautious hope, all of it poured out. Her phone buzzed with a text from Justin. "Thank you for letting me be his father. I know I don't deserve the chance, but I won't waste it." Zara read the message 3 times before responding, "One day at a time." 3 words that weren't forgiveness or promises, but were something that felt like the beginning of learning to trust again, brick by painful brick. Chapter 10. The Family We Choose. 7 months passed like pages turning in one of Zara's books, slowly at first, then gathering momentum towards something that resembled an ending but felt more like a beginning. Justin showed up for every scheduled visit, even when work demanded otherwise. He learned Prince's favorite bedtime stories, memorized which vegetables the boy hated, discovered that tickling behind his knees produced the best giggles. The supervised visits slowly became unsupervised as Zara watched Justin prove, day after day, that he wasn't running. Prince's 3rd birthday fell on a crisp autumn afternoon. Zara had rented a private room in the hotel for the party, inviting children from playgroups and their parents. Justin arrived early to help with decorations, and Zara found herself working alongside him to hang streamers and arrange tables without the awkwardness that had marked their early interactions. "He wants a dinosaur cake," Justin said, consulting his phone notes, "specifically a triceratops because they're herbivores and gentle." "You remembered." "I remember everything he tells me now. I have years of memories to make up for." The party was chaotic and beautiful. Prince ran wild with his friends, while adults supervised with varying degrees of success. Justin knelt in the play area, letting children climb on him like he was playground equipment. And Zara watched him be present in a way that shouldn't have surprised her anymore, but somehow still did. When they sang Happy Birthday, Prince sat between his parents, one small hand in each of theirs, grinning like he'd won a prize. He blew out his candles and made a wish he refused to share. But the way he squeezed both their hands made Zara suspect it involved exactly this, both his parents, together, celebrating him. After the party, after the guests left and Prince crashed from sugar exhaustion, Justin helped clean up while Zara put their son to bed. When she returned to the living room, Justin had nearly finished organizing the chaos. "You don't have to do this," she said. "I want to. Besides, we're a team now, right? Co-parents who actually cooperate instead of sabotaging each other." Zara poured them both wine, and they sat on opposite ends of the couch, the same positions they'd occupied countless times over the past months. But the distance felt smaller now, the silence less loaded with pain. "I've been thinking about moving," Zara said carefully. "The book tour is ending. I need to give Prince stability, a real home instead of hotels." Justin's face stayed carefully neutral. "Where are you thinking?" "I don't know yet. Part of me wants to go somewhere completely new, start fresh where the past doesn't haunt every corner. But Prince has roots here now. He has friends, routines, a father who shows up. Don't let me be the reason you stay if you need to leave." "That's just it, though. A year ago, you would have been the reason I ran. Now you're part of the equation, and I don't know what to do with that." Justin set down his wine, giving her his full attention. "What do you want, Zara? Not what's logical or practical or best for everyone else. What do you actually want?" "I want to stop being afraid. I want to trust that people won't disappear when things get hard. I want Prince to grow up believing in happy endings because he's living one, not because I write them in books." She paused, gathering courage. "I want to stop punishing you for something that was done to both of us." "You're not punishing me. You're protecting yourself. There's a difference. Is there? Because some days I think I'm holding on to anger because it's familiar. Because forgiving you means admitting I could get hurt again, and that's terrifying. For what it's worth, I'm terrified too. Terrified I'll mess this up, disappoint Prince. Prove your worst fears, right? They sat in silence. The city humming below them, Prince sleeping peacefully down the hall. And Zara felt the last walls around her heart start to crack. Not breaking completely, but developing fissures that let light in. I'm not ready to say we're together, she said quietly. I'm not ready to forgive everything or forget what happened. But I think I'm ready to try building something new. Not what we were, but what we could be. Justin's expression transformed with careful hope. What does that look like? It looks like dinners together with Prince. Like you helping with bedtime stories. Like slowly letting you into our daily life instead of keeping you at arm's length. It looks like giving trust in small increments and seeing if you handle it carefully. I can do that. I will do that. And if I need space, if I get scared and pull back, you have to let me. No pushing, no demanding more than I can give. Zara, I'd wait forever if that's what you needed. She moved closer, not quite touching but near enough to feel his warmth. I don't want to wait forever. I want to try this messy, complicated, terrifying thing where we figure out how to be family. Maybe not the family we planned, but the family we choose to build from what's left. Justin's hand found hers, their fingers interlacing with a familiarity that felt both foreign and right. Prince asked me yesterday if I was going to marry his mama someday. What did you tell him? I told him that his mama is the strongest, smartest, most amazing person I've ever known. And if she ever decided to give me that chance, I'd be the luckiest person alive. But I also told him that some things can't be rushed, and we're taking things one day at a time. Zara's throat tightened. He's going to keep asking. Let him ask. Let him see his parents respecting each other's boundaries and building something real instead of forcing something fake. They talked until late, making plans for Prince's future, discussing where Zara might want to settle, imagining what co-parenting could evolve into if they kept choosing each other day after day. When Justin finally stood to leave, Zara walked him to the door, but caught his sleeve before he could go. Thank you, she said softly, for showing up, for being patient, for proving that people can change. Thank you for giving me the chance. I know I didn't earn it. Maybe that's the point. Maybe grace isn't about earning. Maybe it's about choosing to believe in someone's future instead of punishing them for their past. Justin leaned down and kissed her forehead, the gesture tender and unhurried, and Zara closed her eyes against the rush of feeling. Not the explosive passion they'd shared before, but something deeper. Something that felt like coming home after a long journey. Weeks turned into months. Zara found a house with a backyard where Prince could play, close enough to Justin that visits felt natural rather than scheduled. Justin helped her move, carrying boxes while Prince helped by unpacking toys into random rooms. The house had space for Prince's artwork and a room that slowly became Justin's when he stayed for dinner and couldn't bear to leave. On a random Tuesday evening, after helping with Prince's bath and reading him stories until he fell asleep, Justin lingered in Zara's living room instead of leaving immediately. I've been selling off properties, he said conversationally, using the money to fund programs for homeless mothers and children, trying to make something meaningful from all the years I wasted. That's good, really good. I did it because of you, because I saw what you survived and realized my wealth meant nothing if I wasn't using it to help people. You're a better man than the one who walked away. I'm trying to be. Every day I'm trying. He stepped closer. Can I ask you something? Always. When Prince asked if people who make mistakes can say sorry, what did you tell him? I told him yes. Nice people can say sorry. Justin smiled, and it reached his eyes. Do you believe that? That I'm nice people? Zara considered the question seriously. She thought about the man who'd abandoned her versus the man who showed up for every visit. The man who'd believed lies versus the man who'd destroyed his family to expose truth. "I believe you're becoming nice people," she said finally. "The jury's still out on whether you'll stay that way. Then I'll keep presenting evidence." He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away, but Zara didn't move. His lips met hers softly, carefully, a question more than a demand. She answered by kissing him back, and for the first time in years, the past didn't intrude. There was only this moment, this man, this careful rebuilding of something precious. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard, and Zara saw her own cautious hope reflected in Justin's eyes. "One day at a time," she whispered. "One day at a time," he agreed. Later, tucked into her own bed in her own house, Zara thought about the story they were writing. Not a fairy tale with easy answers, but something honest. A story about second chances and earned forgiveness. About families built from choice rather than obligation. About love that survived being broken because both people chose to repair it. Piece by painful piece. When Prince asked his mama if people who make really big mistakes can still be good daddies, Zara looked at Justin across the playground, watching him push their son on swings with joy written across his face. And she realized that maybe redemption wasn't about erasing the past, but about choosing, every single day, to build something better from the ruins.